Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas.
As you enter, please slide across the seat to allow room for those who may follow. And please be sure your hands and legs are away from open doors. Thank you.
Hey everybody, thanks for joining us. I'm Tim Scott. You have joined ResortLoop.com, the gateway to the magic. A lot has happened since the last time we talked. Bob is out, Bob is in. That's right, Chapek is gone, Iger is back. Now, funny thing when this all happened, we're just diving right into the show. I was in bed Sunday night getting ready for an early wake-up call Monday morning, as normal. And my phone vibrated. I heard it because I wasn't quite out. It was my son, and he was like, "Did you see that Bob Chapek is out and Bob Iger is back in?" And I was like, "Oh, Steven, obviously you misread something or didn't see something correctly." So I go to the Google, I go to do some news searches, and oh my gosh, I think I was just as shocked as everybody. Not so shocked that Chapek was out. Actually, my prediction was that by the end of 2023, he would be gone. I didn't think it'd be nearly this soon, and I did not think at all that it was going to be Mr. Bob Iger back at the helm of the ship. So people have been asking me, what do I think? I said, I'm really happy Chapek's gone. I'm pretty happy Iger's back. I'm not sure there's anybody really out there at this point that can correct the ship, if you will, get things going back on the straight and narrow, or as close as it's going to be for a company of that size. That's the one thing. This company is so huge and it has so many different facets. This is going to take somebody with a lot of knowledge on a lot of different fields to get everything back where we need it to be. And I say we like I'm a stockholder. I'm not a stockholder, just so everybody knows. Unless it's in a mutual fund. Who knows? I don't know. We'll take a deeper look into that one. But when I look back at why Bob Chapek was let go, because you'll recall just a few months ago, his contract was renewed for, I believe it was 3 years, but it was retroactive. So I think it was closer to 2 years, but it was with a unanimous vote by the Disney Board of Directors. Now, the board of directors, I'm sure they did a unanimous vote, so it would look good to stockholders. Like, no reason for anybody to panic. This guy's got our vote of confidence. He's our man. We're moving forward. No reason to worry here. But I think it was very interesting timing as to how quickly it all happened. Now, it might not have been this quickly. My theory on the whole thing is it was the Elton John concert on Disney+. It might have even been to introduce Elton John on stage at Dodger Stadium. And they just didn't want him introducing or being paired with Elton John for the duration of however long that thing runs on Disney+, which could be forever, could be a very long time. So I know the straw that broke the camel's back as to why they got rid of Bob Chapek was the board of directors. Apparently, they had a $1.5 billion loss on Disney+, and that included a good chunk of that cost of content for Disney+. Now, the cost for content for Disney+ was a lot of money, but if you want a lot of people to subscribe, you have to have a lot of content coming up. And, face it, content, you can usually get your money back over a long period of time, especially if it's decent content, because not only will you have subscribers paying for it on Disney+, eventually I'm sure it would go to like ABC or some of the other ABC or Disney, I should say, cable outlets. And after that, you've got syndication. You could probably even have home video at some point after that. So money on content, as long as it's decent, which, any of the Star Wars stuff, I'm sure would make its money back, Marvel, anything like that. Now, I think we got into a little bit of trouble because I wish I could remember where I saw the report that the show was the new Doogie Howser show, the one in Hawaii, was initially made for Disney+, but they went to move it to the Disney Channel so they could write off that part of the budget onto the Disney Channel and not Disney+. So my guess is when you started to meddle with those numbers and the board of directors kind of saw what you were doing, they probably didn't like that. That's where Christina McCarthy, I think, told the board that she has lost confidence in Bob Chapek to run the company. And I think the board is probably looking at things going, yeah, you're right. We got to move on this fast. Who are we going to get? And it just took place over the weekend where they said Bob Iger said yes on like Friday. Chapek was fired on Sunday. It might have been in the works a little bit before that. We don't know. I'm sure as time goes on, we'll get more details as how this all went down. And if not, somewhere in the future, there's going to be a lot of nice books and articles that'll be talking about this. And I think it's just going to be a great time to sit back with your popcorn and read some books. So I went to look at this. I was like, how am I going to do a show on this? I mean, everybody knows he's fired. Everybody knows that Bob Iger's back. This could be exciting. Just because we know he knows how to run the company. I'm not sure he's as theme park friendly as Michael Eisner was. loved Michael Eisner as far as the parks are concerned. So we'll see how things go, but I know he wants to get the parks back because remember, the Disney company, even when they're in a little bit of turmoil and some businesses are down, the parks have always supported the rest of the company. So you got to wonder, did Bob Chapek know that he's going to be losing a decent amount of money on Disney Plus for a while? And that's why we had all these extra charges and fees and things with the parks? You're starting to wonder. I'm starting to kind of think maybe that's where he was going. He's going to try to bolster the rest of the company for the losses that maybe Disney Plus and some other places might have been having. But we're going to, don't look over here, look over there type things. But, the numbers don't lie, so that's all going to come out in the wash at some point. But that's kind of what I'm possibly thinking. Anyway, so I'm looking at how to convey this. And I was looking around and I'm trying to think, because there's like a web of information and dots connecting as to why he might have been fired. I broke it down into the groups that Bob Chapek has alienated. I think this is a different way to look at it than just saying, lost this here, too much money there, boom, he's gone. I think if so many people had turned against him, that is another reason that they just wanted to get him out, get a fresh start. And first on my list, I actually talked about this already, was the Disney Board of Directors. Lost confidence. He had to go. The numbers weren't in his favor. Boom, he's gone. Second one, this is going to be another short one because I don't want to dwell on this one. The politics of it all. We'll just say Reedy Creek, the whole Reedy Creek fiasco. And we'll just let that lie there. There's no reason to go into the whole political side of what happened there. Everyone knows. So at this point now, you got the board of directors behind not being supportive. You've lost politicians in both California and Florida, by the way. And speaking of California, that brings us to the whole Hollywood. Hollywood had lost their confidence and trust, in my opinion, once again, in Bob Chapek, because of one, the actors. I don't think any of the actors were really trusting anything they might have been able to do and gotten paid what they said. Remember the whole Scarlett Johansson, I'll call it a debacle, where her movie, the Black Widow movie, was going to be a theatrical release, and she was going to get part of their deal was she was going to get part of the theater earnings. Well, Chapek decided, what we're going to do is we're going to release it in the theaters and on Disney Plus at pretty much the same time. So then Scarlett Johansson's camp is like, well, we need to get more money for this because, we're not going to get the box office draw because it's now on Disney Plus. And, he really didn't seem all that really interested in that. I mean, I wish I could remember the exact quote, and I should have looked it up, but it was something to the effect of, we're in a new time where, contracts won't be like they were. And, but there was a contract involved. And I'm thinking, and I think Hollywood thought, Bob, you got to do right by Scarlett Johansson. She's one of your main, A-list actors. She's in all the Marvel movies. She's been a longtime supporter of the Marvel franchise and has done awesome work. And now you're going to try to stiff her a few bucks. So I think, once you do that to one actor of her level, I'm sure all the other actors are thinking, what's going to happen if I go to work for Disney in the future? And, with the Star Wars franchise, the Marvel franchise, you're going to want top tier actors and you want them wondering, what's going to be happening in the future. Or are they going to try to pull on me now? Oh my goodness. And speaking of Hollywood, that brings me to my next group, the executives. Remember Peter Rice? He was a TV executive for Disney, well loved by everybody from what I understand. Like nobody really had a bad thing to say about him and he was well respected. And the rumor was Bob Chapek cut him loose because he was afraid that he might be coming for his job at one point down the line. So he wanted to, nip that in the bud. But I thought it was very interesting that apparently when Chapek brought him in to let him go, he just out and out fired him. Because normally what will happen, if there's a corporate disagreement between executives at that level, the person being let go the option to, you might want to retire, maybe go on your own terms, save a little bit of face, say you're, quitting to spend more time with your family, or you want to start some new projects, you got some new ventures you want to go on. But Chapek just out and out fired him, let him go. Didn't give him a chance to do anything like that, which I actually think is very ironic. That's exactly what the turned around and did to Chapek when they let him go. They didn't give him the opportunity to save face at all. I think they wanted it well known that he was gone. That is, again, my opinion. Let me know what you think. Feel free to comment on the show over at ResortLoop.com. Another group of people, there's a lot of groups here when you get to thinking about it, that were alienated by different things that Bob Chapek did, was the Imagineers. The Imagineers had been based in Southern California for so long, and they were going to move to Lake Nona. And I'm not sure if that move is still in effect now or not. I don't think it is. I think it's on hold, if not just done altogether. And personally, I was kind of excited to have a little bit more engineering in Florida, just because I'm a Disney World guy. But when you think about these Imagineers had families and had probably grown up and, gone to school at places like, Cal Arts and probably Caltech and UCLA and those kind of schools out there. Their homes are there, their families are there. And your company says, hey, we're going to move you to Florida, a few thousand miles away, if you want to keep your job. And they're like, well, I love my job, I love the company, but I it's my family. I'm going to stay here. So, you had a lot of good Imagineers leave the company. I'll be anxious to see if some of those come back. I mean, there are a lot of high-level Imagineers, which, I'm kind of wondering, did Joe Rohde see the writing on the wall and leave on his own terms? I'm just really curious. Did he want to go to Virgin Galactic? Was that kind of his thing? I don't know. But again, the Imagineers, they didn't want to move to Lake Nona. They were happy at home. So there's another big group of people of your employees, the Imagineers, the guys that design the parks. Now, the next group I came up with in my search of people that might have not agreed with Bob Chapek or didn't like his policies was Disney Cruise Line. You heard that he recently bought the, 75% done or whatever the percentage is. Was it the Global Dream ship that the company that initially built it went bankrupt, went out of business, and he had the option to buy this ship for cheap, let's be honest. A mega ship, which, Disney Cruise Line hasn't really shown any interest in being in the mega ship family. And he found out about this Global Dream, went to Disney Cruise Line. They went to look at the ship, and he goes, what do you think? We think this would be a good fit. And they're like, well, we already have two more ships on the way. We're working on with our, the Imagineers, our Disney Cruise Line executives. We don't think we have room for it. We don't think it'll fit. And Bob Chapek said, I understand. We're going to buy it. So now Disney Cruise Line had this ship coming out, which there might be an out. I heard some things that they could possibly try to get out of it. We'll see. It might be cheap enough. They might just try to go for it. I don't know. But now you got, the Disney Cruise Line executives who are working on two ships that haven't even been started yet. To this one, now they got to, design spaces and themes and get it into that cruise ship. We'll see what happens there. But, now they've got extra work, and they weren't too happy about the way the cruise line is going to go if they pick up this ship. So we'll see. We'll see how this goes. But I'm kind of optimistic this might work, because I heard it might be just an Asia type ship. But anyway, again, Disney Cruise Line, people not extremely happy with Bob Chapek at that point. And I know what you're all thinking. There's another group of people out there who have been alienated and not treated well by the previous CEO of the company. And that's your Disney Parks fans and the park visitors. And you're right. The Disney Park fans have been so irritated with a lot of the decisions that have been made to just visit the parks. Everybody has been talking about the Park Pass reservation system, the No Magical Express. Magic bands are now charged for resort parking. Good Lord, when that started, I think Iger was in office. Iger was still the CEO when that whole parking thing happened. But just the nickel and diming, and I'm going to get to talk about that at the very end of the show, by the way. All the additional charges for all this. But the first group of fans, Disney Park fans, annual pass holders. Your most loyal group, people are willing to pay every year for a pass to go to the parks whenever they want, and they stop selling the passes. And for a while, you couldn't renew them. I think you can renew them now if you already have them. But if you let them expire during COVID, you haven't been able to get one. We know Chapek is not a big fan of annual pass holders, apparently, because you'll remember when they were talking about the Disneyland, I think it was Disneyland, could have been Disney World, but he referred to the parks not making quite as much money as they would hope because of the unfavorable attendance mix, because more of the guests were annual pass holders than vacationers, and they say annual pass holders don't spend as much money. Probably true, but they're in there all the time, and they're paying for more in the park over the long haul than the people on a one-day trip. I'm also going to include DVC members as part of this group, kind of for the same reason as the annual pass holders. Here's another group that spent even more money to be able to go to Disney more often. And if they let their annual passes expire also, they can't go into the parks like they'd want. And, they bought a real estate interest in this thing. So, again, there's another group. And then those just get into the regular park visitors. Ticket prices, they're always going to go up. But don't make additional hurdles for people to visit the parks. The Park Pass reservation system? Come on. Now, we know initially they said they were going to use it to control the amount of people in the parks, make it a more positive experience. All the videos I've seen, especially over the last couple months, have been just like pre-pandemic times. But you still have to make a reservation. And after you make the reservation, if you decide you want a park hop, you still can't do that until after 2 o'clock. And you still have to go into the first park to begin with. You're not making this convenient for the group of people that want to visit your park. You've also implemented Genie Plus, the lightning lane, the individual lightning lanes. And it's hard to explain to some people. There's a ride you really want to go on, one of the top tier rides. You have to pay 3 different times to go into the one ride. You have to buy for the Genie Plus. You have to, you have to buy your park ticket. You have to buy your Genie Plus, and then you have to buy your individual lightning lanes. It's like, oh, you try to explain that to somebody. It's their first time in the parks. They're like, how much? Why is all this? Why did they make it so difficult? I just want to go ride a ride. I just want to ride a ride. Come on. Also, if the park pass system is only being used to help staff the parks because they can get a more pinpoint number on the people coming to the parks, allegedly. I don't know. I'm starting to wonder about this whole thing. You have 50 years of data of people coming into these parks with holidays and schools off. You should have a pretty good idea how many people are going to be there. You should be able to make a pretty decent guess. You have 50 years of data with the best number crunchers in the business, and you need to know a little bit more so you can have another guy at a churro stand. Come on. Oh, that evolved into a rant. I wasn't even intending that. Let's go back to my list. Tim, get back on the rails. Anyway, so my thought, if you're going to offer a premium product and you're going to charge a premium price, make it as easy, make it as smooth, make it a pleasure to do what I need to do to get into the parks. Getting up early to buy Disney Plus, or staying up late to buy Disney Plus, getting up early to make a reservation. If I decide I want to change parks during the day, now I have to go to one park before I go to the other park, or I can't even go to the other park. If I'm paying money to stay in a Disney hotel, why do I have to make a reservation to go into the Magic Kingdom? Why can't I just wake up from my hotel and paying however much money, anywhere between $200 and a number with a comma in it? I should be able to get into the park I want to get into if I change my mind overnight. If I was going to go to the Animal Kingdom and it's rainy, perhaps I'd rather do the Magic Kingdom where I can do a little more, be inside and outside, inside more than outside. Just throwing that out there. I think I went off the rails, by the way. Again, we're going to talk about why they got rid of Chapek. But some of these Chapek rules make it easier for the company than it does for the visitor. So anyway, let's make it easier on the guests on this vacation they're spending a lot of money for, rather than having to jump through a bunch of hoops to go on the ride they want to go on. All right, let's continue. I think we got to wrap this up, because I might be rambling, but I want to get this out of the way so I can cover good stuff later on. Come on. So anyway, we'll wrap this up. So when you have all these different groups have been alienated by the decisions of Bob Chapek and his regime, and you've lost confidence of all these different people, and all of a sudden then the board found out that things might not be quite the way he would led them to believe. And then apparently when he was talking about the $1.5 billion loss in streaming and mentioned that there were going to be layoffs and hiring freezes, he didn't mention that to the HR department before he went out and spoke. So again, there was something else that the board of directors probably found out and was like, we got to cut them loose. We got to get a new start. We got to right this ship. Let's make Disney a magical company again and make people glad and happy and want them to be Disney fans. Before I wrap up this show, I want to talk about a quote from Jurassic Park, which I've quoted before on the show, but I've never used this one. And in the relation to all the additional steps involved in a Disney vacation, the using the phone, the reservation system, the mobile ordering, the Genie Plus, the Genie, the individual park pass reservations. You recall, Ian Malcolm, Jeff Goldblum's character, said, "You spend so much time wondering if you could, you didn't ask yourself if you should. Don't alienate your base. Don't alienate the groups that follow you just for a few extra bucks. Let's make people happy, and the bucks will come." So, something to think about. I hope the show made a little bit of sense. It's going to be a fun time looking forward and actually looking back a little bit when we find out how this all went down even more. So now it's time. I'm really going to wrap up this show. I'm Tim Scott. You've been listening to The Gateway to the Magic. You can find us on Facebook, maybe Twitter. I still can't make up my mind about that one. Maybe we'll do something on Instagram. We got all those things everywhere. Follow us everywhere. There'll be stuff coming. Stuff will be there. Why am I beating my leg? Now it hurts. Everybody, you've been listening to The Gateway to the Magic. We'll see you, everybody.
I don't think you're giving us our due credit. Our scientists have done things which nobody's ever done before.
Yeah, but your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could that they didn't stop to think if they should.